All right. We are live. Welcome to Nerd Side Champs. I'm Dan. That's Tim. We are the Nerd Champs. This is Nerd Side Champs, where we talk about everything nerd. And this week, we are talking about the wonderfulness that Disney Plus has bestowed upon us now. Ironheart. We have a lot of comments in the queue. So before we just dive into Tim and I's takes, we'll let the comments be our guide. We have Jon Snow knows nothing. Why is she not in Wakanda? Uh, I I can answer. I can feel this one first, Tim. Reasons. There you go. Reasons.
I
Go ahead.
so I- I'm just trying to get this figured out because
Mhm,
I think it makes more sense for her to be in Wakanda, right?
mhm. Yeah.
I mean, she was just there, and then I mean, when it comes to resources available, when it comes to you know quality of living, I I'm not seeing a lot of reasons for her to have come back. So I know that like her friend died and she got some emotional pull from that, right? And there was some kind of thing for that, but I, I don't know that it made a lot of sense for her to not be in Wakanda,
Well, I feel like her
or at the
friend.
very least,
Yeah,
or at
her
the very
friend.
least have better company than she generally keeps. I don't know. It's very very weird to me that
Well,
she's
her
not in Wakanda. I would agree with that.
her friend died prior to the events of Black Panther 2
See, now
was
it even
my
makes
feeling.
even less sense.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But here's the thing, Tim. It's kind of like a Rocky 3 situation, I think here, or no, Rocky 4. This is a Rocky 4 situation. This is like pulling rocks through the snow kind of deal.
yeah.
Uh, because not only is she not in Wakanda, right? We start the series. She's at MIT with grant funding, right? And the best
Yes.
she could do is a buggy suit ran by Clippy from Windows 98. Okay, it doesn't function
Yep.
right. It shorts out all the time, right? And as at MIT with grant funding and
hmm
assistance and lots of money and the best labs in the world, right? And she can't make
She
AI that
just
works.
got done telling us. Yeah, she just got done telling us how dumb Tony Stark was too, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
he
it's
made his
like
Iron Man suit in a cave with a hammer. Yeah, he needed to be a billionaire. But here's the thing: she could make a perfectly functioning suit in her mom's house with parts from the junkyard and a laptop. See, like MIT buggy suit with Clippy from Windows 98 futzing out, right? Uh, Mom's house, laptop, junkyard, perfectly functioning suit with AI clone of your dead best friend. So, I mean,
yes.
yeah. So I mean, why would she need to be Wakanda? Why does she need to be in Chicago? Chicago is a question, Tim. Why is she not in Uganda? Because apparently, I mean, maybe if we take away the laptop in her mom's house and give her sticks and mud in the middle of a hut, she'll make something even better. Because the less the resources, the better she performs. That seems to be the right.
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is just the premise of where we got to here, where we got to here should have been easy connectivity. That's how
Yeah.
Marvel has always been. It's like, oh, you saw the hammer. Guess what? Thor is going to show up next. It's real easy, right? And now we're kind of like, well, but that's not the last time we saw her. She wasn't at MIT and she wasn't trying to build a suit with grant funding. She was already building a suit. She had already built a suit in Wakanda. Why didn't she just improve upon that suit and use their resources? And I mean, there's a lot that just doesn't make sense here. So yeah, i'm
No.
i'm
But see, you
confused
said
by that as well.
that's how Marvel always has been, is what you said, Tim. What you meant to say is that's how Marvel always had been. They have been this way for quite a long time,
Yeah.
where a thing ends and a new thing starts and it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's just par for the course for modern day Marvel. Very honest. So get me this. Let me get this straight. She is an MIT building an Iron Man. Why? Because her friend died and she thinks a readily available to the public Iron Man suit would have prevented it somehow. Well, I think we're gonna get the answer. Like they keep asking why she's building an Iron Man suit, and she hasn't given her. I feel like everybody would be trying to build an Iron Man suit. Do you not? I feel like that would be a thing a lot of brilliant people would be trying to do in a world where Iron Man suits exist. Uh, it's like people try to build cool tanks or nice planes, but people are specifically wanting to know why she wants to build one. I feel like everybody should want to build one, but I don't know.
I can this is you know this is kind of the weirdest thing about the whole show so far is yes, her friend died and she's got this thing where like if only Iron Man suits were available, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So I've got to leave Wakanda and come back here with grant funding to try to build an Iron Man suit so that I can share this with the world or whatever it is, right? But Iron Man suits already exist, and there's a reason that the populace should not have them, right? I'm I'm really I'm really
I don't.
struggling. I'm really struggling with this. Like this is I don't know. This is
Maybe
just a weird thing.
I didn't. Maybe I didn't see the connective tissue. I wasn't paying. I didn't think her friend's death had anything to do with her leaving Wakanda. I thought she just left Wakanda because she left Wakanda. When we
But
met
that's the
her,
thing. There's just if there's any implication here, it's that she left because she wanted to she left because she wanted to do this because of her friend. I don't know if it's because of her friend's death or just I don't know what it is, man. None of this is clearly explained. None of it.
I don't know.
And
I
that's
feel like
just that makes it really, really difficult.
like when we like they hit the reset button when she was introduced in Wakanda. Whatever. She was an MIT student, right? And when you begin
Mhm.
this series, they want her to be an MIT student because listen, we have a trope now. We have a pattern. Disney Plus, Marvel Studios show, right? Plus African American protagonist equals protagonist must be dead, busted, broke.
Mhm.
That is like, and whatever kind of plot nonsense that you have to like put in place to make that happen, that's what you do. Now, Riri is back at MIT, but she did become super best friends with Shuri, the princess of Wakanda and current Black Panther, and ultra level billionaire. I mean, royal families don't show up on billionaire lists in the real world or probably in the Marvel world either because their wealth is the wealth of a nation state. It's not comparable to a tech billionaire. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Jeff
Oh
Bezos
yeah.
has a lot of money, but Prince Charles technically owns Great Britain, Canada, and Australia and everything that's in it. That by technical, like at the letter of, you know, hit the law, he owns all of that. All three of those countries belong to him. They are his. So you can't measure that quite and sure he's on that level rich. So while it was absolutely ridiculous for Sam to be dead busted broke and not be able to get enough money to refinance a boat when he has Pepper Potts on speed dial,
Yep.
it's way more ridiculous for Riri to get expelled trying to raise money by selling test grades when her super best friend is the head of a nation state and the most wealthy nation state in this universe. That's just cuckoo bananas. That's stupid.
And not to mention the most innovative. I mean, why would she leave the resources of the lab in Wakanda for the lab at MIT, where it would be all with grant money, very limited resources, no access to the science that they have in Wakanda, no access to the materials they have in Wakanda, no access to the mines that they have in Wakanda. It just makes no sense. And so her not being in Wakanda doesn't make sense, but her being at MIT and trying to build this Iron Man suit for some reason, because she wants the people to have it. She wants it to be a thing that's either given to law enforcement, given to the public, given to someone. It's not very well explained because it's kind of a dumb idea. You know what I mean? No matter what the idea is, there's really no reason for her to have left Wakanda to do it. So it's just kind of fuzzy, like she's doing the thing. That's really what they kind of set up. And she's so passionate about doing the thing that she's willing to get in the gray area, which makes no sense because this is something that's supposed to be for the greater good, and she's going to get in the gray area in order to pay for it. That all that stuff just doesn't make sense.
Baked into the premise of her character is ridiculousness. Uh, I understand the concept of this brilliant, person from the rough side of Chicago, not being recognized for brilliance and maybe not having access to, you know, being able to get that done. That could have been a concept, but this character from introduction is not that character. When we meet
Never.
her, she's already on a full ride scholarship to MIT. So everyone knows how brilliant she is. And just so people understand, in case you're slow, academic scholars on scholarships to universities are not like athletic scholarships. You see what I'm saying? If you are a brilliant uh, engineer, scientist, inventor, and you are on a full ride scholarship to MIT, that does not preclude you from doing paid internships,
Nope,
filing
not at
patents,
all.
having, you know what I'm saying? She's inventing crap and giving it away or selling it as a research project that she could file a patent for and like pay for the whole thing. Just take that little
Mm-hmm.
side project, put a patent on it, and start printing money. It's not
Mm-hmm.
precluded. You are allowed to do it. It's not like being now. If you were an engineer for a company, if you work for a company, and you are in their research and development arm, that all of your anything you make or invent is their intellectual property because they're paying you for research and development.
Mm-hmm.
But she's a student, which means her ideas belong to her. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows how smart she is because she was on a full ride to MIT. The lady did bust her bubble a little bit and be like, we created this curriculum for you because we know how gifted you are. But, so all of her things, or woe is me, is kind of BS. But
Mm-hmm. I love that speech by the lady, by the way.
yeah,
I love that speech by who was it? It was supposed to be the dean, I guess. I,
yeah,
I love that speech that basically was just like, hey, buck up, sissy pants. Life is
yeah,
hard. I love that. That was like my favorite part of the whole show. That was the only good part of the whole show is
yeah,
buck up, sissy pants. Okay.
yeah. And
That
it's
was it.
just, so the whole premise just doesn't work because they're going to bend it every way. Like she should have never got kicked. When we met her, she should have never been selling test answers. She has so many better ways to earn money if you're really that
Mm-hmm.
smart. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh, Thug Dog. I'm still not writing it off, but this was a rocky start. Why the constant Stark hate? Because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the only
I
way they know how. Go
I,
ahead, Thug.
I don't understand. Like, I really just don't understand why they feel like they have to trash Tony in order to build her up. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that Marvel has right now is they cannot have two smart people existing at the same time. They can't. It's
No,
impossible to have two smart people existing at the same time. One of them has to be smarter than the other one. It can't be that they're both experts in completely different fields. It can't be that one of them is, maybe just a little bit more, little bit, more seasoned and experienced, and the other one is just kind of fresh and inexperienced. No, it can't be any of that. One of them has to be way smarter than the other one. You can't have, and Marvel was never written that way. Look, Reed was always the smartest one. Okay, he was always
Yeah.
the smartest one. We always knew Reed was the smartest one, but there are a lot of smart people in the Marvel universe. And when those people always collaborated, they always had their areas of expertise. Reed would actually, go in and have people help him with projects. Okay. And because they had strengths that he didn't have, or that he knew that he couldn't do simultaneously with other stuff. And there was a lot there. You know what I mean? It's important to make sure that that's part of the Marvel universe, and they seem to have just kind of written that off. Now, at the beginning of the MCU, they didn't really do that. Stark and Banner were always collaborating. Pym eventually came in with his stuff, and nobody ever thought, "Oh, that guy came in, so the other ones are idiots." Nobody ever thought that. So I don't understand why we feel like we have to do it now.
Yeah, that it started with Black Panther with the introduction of Shuri,
Oh,
and just an offhand comment
did
that
I lose you, Dan?
no, you're still there. I can see it. Can you see me? I don't know, Tim.
Hello.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you just fine. Tim's either going to hear me or not. uh, can you hear me, Tim? I don't know. I guess he can't.
I'm going to go out and come back. I'm going to go out and come back in. I'm going to go out and
Okay.
come back in.
All right. So anyway, folks, yeah, it started in Black Panther's offhanded comment that Shuri's technology made Stark's technology look like, I don't know, toys or whatever. They just really negged on Iron Man there. And it started a trend that's the only way they know how to establish a character as being intelligent, is they're way more intelligent than the previous versions. And that's just seems like a lazy crutch. And the good thing about this show is you can always spot when they're going to take a dump on Tony Stark, because it's always right prefaced or prefixed by no shade to Tony Stark. no shade at all to Tony Stark, but he's basically a buffoon who couldn't have done anything with big mountains of money.
Overusage of the term shade in the first 3 episodes. I think we all can agree on that, right?
Yeah. Except Tony was able to create a functioning AI before he even made an Iron Man suit, and he didn't
Oh
have
yeah.
to steal Wakandan technology to do it. He had a fully functioning Jarvis before he ever had a suit. And again, she came up with Clippy from Windows 98. She couldn't even install
Yeah.
Alexa.
That's crazy, man. Like
Or
all the stuff that they're trying to get us to buy into,
yeah.
I'm trying really hard, but I just can't
I am the Night MF. This was a masterpiece. Best thing for Marvel in a long time. You guys are just hating. That is not the case. Let me say something as we work our way through the comments. I don't think I hate this as much as you, Tim. Because once something offends you, you paint it with a broad brush and you really hate it. But to me, other than the complete ludicrous ridiculousness of the whole concept, which kind of puts you on a plane of, okay, this is silliness. This whole thing is ridiculous, and you really can't try to make any of it make sense, because foundationally, nothing that's going to happen makes any sense at all, and is never going to. So that aside, it moves at a decent pace. The pacing's okay, and I don't think the acting's terrible, and the shots are all in focus, and the effects are pretty good for Marvel / Disney Plus. So it is not Acolyte level. I think is
it's
what
better than Agatha. I'll say I liked it better than Agatha so far, but I mean, once again, is that where the bar is supposed to be? I mean, I guess that's kind of my issue.
I haven't reached. It is not Secret Invasion level bad, of course, because there's no characters in here that you really care about to completely destroy. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. Secret Invasion
Yeah,
is
that's the
awful
thing.
because of what it did to Nick Fury, and what it did to War Machine. So like it's just wrecking things left and right. Secret Invasion is. This is just a side project that makes no sense. But at
Yeah,
least the
no
damage
sense
is
at all.
all
So yeah,
self-contained.
I agree.
Let's see. Barry Allen is slow. How many people is she going to assist in the murder of in order to fund her science project? I think the count now is at one and a half. I think, right? I mean, the apparently the security guard lived. Not really by
Yeah,
anything of her own doing. You know, he could have just as well died.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
and, and she
And
kind
then
of backhand killed this dude in the last episode, right?
there's what's his name, John.
Oh, Tim is still experiencing difficulties. But yeah, there's the member of the crew that she basically let suffocate at the end of this one. Let's see here. Tim?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, how you doing? You broke up for a minute. Are you back?
Yeah, my internet is glitchy for some reason tonight. I don't know what it is, but anyway.
Maybe it was the storms through. But yeah, she basically, I mean, did we could kind of say she killed the guy. She let the door closed on him. She told everybody he wasn't moving when he was. So did she kill the guy?
I mean, and that's a thing where I fully expect him maybe to show up in one of these next episodes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, isn't she like BFFs with the new monarch of Wakanda? It feels like Sam Wilson getting rejected for a boat. Yes, it does, Thug Dog. I guess
There
Thug
it
Dog
is.
can read my mind.
That's exactly what we were thinking.
Yeah. It's just I don't know, man. It didn't work the first time they did it. It made no sense that time. So Natalie is an
Mhm.
AI created for the purpose of assisting Riri with whatever she needs, but she keeps screwing things up. Well, apparently Riri's not a very good programmer. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like, yeah, she creates this thing that's supposed to be Jarvis, right? It's supposed to
Yeah.
be, help me with whatever I need. And right in the middle of her like really important mission, she just pops up, boom, on the screen, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it basically
Fix her.
makes her drop the drive and compromise the whole mission and all. I don't know. It was silly.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so cataclysmically stupid that things like that I just barely even notice.
Yeah. Thug Dog. So Parker's squad is interesting. Parker, is that the hood? Who's Parker?
That's the hood. Yeah.
The hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
The
know.
hood.
There's just a generic accumulation of weird thugs. I don't know.
So you got the two Fight Club girls that are a very clear demographic they're going after there, I think. And then there's a character we have to address, Dan. I don't even know how to bring it up.
Oh, the they them hacker. Listen. That trope or that character, the LGBTQ hacker, guy at the computer was done better in like a low budget Cinemax show years ago called Banshee. So if you've never seen Banshee, he had a hacker friend that was like a cross-dressing guy, but like, and he was sassy, and it was done way better in that show than so far in this show. It's just it's there because it's there. Does it bother me? No, because it's still this like just plug and play. It's the squad of robbers. You know what I'm saying? It's 18th hand Ocean's 11, and apparently an MCU. I mean, because it's all
It's
ridiculous.
Ocean's 11.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
everything
Oh,
they're
it's very
doing,
ridiculous.
Everything they're doing,
Yeah.
it's all so redundant. You don't need a couple of brawlers. You don't actually, the only thing you need is the they them hacker, and that they them hacker doesn't need any of them because all of the attacks that they're perpetrating are done in the real world with what we call ransomware, folks. It's real simple. You just spam that crap out everywhere. If businesses download it and you lock up their important documents and you shake them down for lots of money. It doesn't require infiltrations and beating up guards and torching greenhouses. It's ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's called ransomware. It's simple. And the idea that you could do these elaborate heists and shake somebody down to sign some kind of contract to have partial ownership of their what's most likely a publicly traded corporation, because no companies that big are privately owned. So one person can't sign a contract to give you a large ownership stake of a company that big. You got to go to the board of directors. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how simple minded are these people that they think, oh, yeah, I'm going to shake down one guy because one guy owns a company this big and then he's going to sign a contract and that contract's going to be
Because
legally
Dan,
binding. What?
this anti corporatism is a thing that is very, very popular amongst people that are very, very heavy into Disney culture right now. A lot
Yeah.
of people in Disney culture are very anti corporate, as hilarious as that is, because Disney's one of the biggest corporations in the world. But
Yes.
that's really what makes this kind of so ironic and funny, is a lot of the people that work for Disney, the writers, the producers, the people who are on set, they're all very, very anti-corporatism. And that's what's really, really funny about this whole thing, is they work for the jug.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it comes down to you hate what you
Are
don't
you there?
understand. Yeah,
Okay,
you
go.
broke up for a minute, but you hate what you don't understand,
Mhm.
and they very clearly do not
Oh
understand
yeah.
corporate structure or business law. They don't understand that one
No,
person
not at
can't
all.
sign you over a
Not at all.
large chunk of a publicly traded company.
Oh yeah.
Uh, they don't
Oh yeah.
understand that contracts signed under duress aren't legally binding, or that when you're a criminal enterprise, where would you go to file such contract and start collecting your money? You know what I'm saying? Where are you going?
Mhm.
How are you going to explain when you show up at the county records office to file your ownership claim? How how you
Well,
obtained
it's
that?
just like the lady, just like the tunnel lady that they shook down. And
Yeah,
and it's just like, okay, so me and my crew all get six-figure salaries. Well, okay, but like, you understand, like, that there's a big paper trail with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just I wire you a bunch of money.
yeah,
You're on payroll now,
yeah.
and you're, none of it makes sense, man. None of it makes sense, and
So
that's just,
you're gonna
and
1099 that? Are they coming in to fill out their tax paperwork? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
Oh, I'm sorry. You won't get your first paycheck till you get your I-9 and W-4 into us, folks. I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah, yeah. You got to
you
come in with
know,
a copy
go
of your
see human
social security
resources.
card, and you got to sit through the HR training on diversity, workplace etiquette.
Do your online modules, the whole shebang, right?
Yeah, when could
It's
you guys come in? Could you come in a week from next Tuesday to fill out your paperwork? Do you want to do that remotely?
I
It's
just
just
I you know you're right, Dan. It's like these people have no idea how corporate structure works. Probably a lot of them have never worked for any company but Disney when they wrote this, and when they
yeah.
all decided that it was a good sounding idea. It's a stupid idea, because that's not how the real world works. And
I guess that
people who have lived in the real world knows that.
they feel like they could kidnap Bob Iger and walk away
Yeah,
with 20% of Disney.
yeah,
I feel like they feel
exactly,
like that could
exactly.
happen.
It's like, there's fail safes in place to keep that from happening, because of how important of a corporation that is to thousands of people. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason that you can't do that, because there's not just one life that's affected by it, and that's why the corporate structure is set up that way. So yeah, I don't know, man. They're
Yeah.
it's very
Uh,
silly. So yeah.
so Barry Allen is slow. She is not a hero. She is not an anti-hero. She is a straight up villain. Iron Man, Cap, Thor, etc. would have found a way to save that guy. So, like, not only did she not save him, she made sure nobody else tried either. She straight up
Yeah.
lied to the hood and
Yeah.
pretty much
Yeah.
claimed he was already dead when he very clearly
Yeah.
was not.
Yeah. At that point, it's kind of like getting made was more important to her than the actual mission of what she was trying to accomplish for the fundraising. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
because the whole purpose of what she's doing is to save lives, and she's going to let this guy die for that. That makes no sense. And if you get made, who cares? You're more powerful than any of them. That's why they asked you to join, you know?
Right.
So what are they going to do? I mean, okay, so we think this hood has some mysterious power that we can't nail down. Okay. But for reasons unknown, he has not challenged you, right? And
Right.
it's because you're probably more powerful right now. So there's things that just I don't understand. I don't know what they're, why she really feels that way, like she felt like she had to do that. Getting made, I mean, this could be your group if you really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I don't understand what she's scared of. But anyway,
I feel like
yeah, once again,
primarily
things that just help move the plot forward, just not great.
primarily I feel like she's scared of getting kicked out of her criminal gang and not being able to do any more jobs to get money, which obviously the fact that she has money troubles is still ridiculous, but that seems because she's not, it's not like she's undercover. She's not Donnie Brasco. She's not here to, to expose these guys. She's just here to join in on the stealing. You know what I'm saying? So she can't get made. She was just curious of what the hood's power is. That's it. That
It
was
should be
her.
a pretty easily explained thing, right?
Yeah.
Why do you have and man, like the eagle eyes on that dude to realize that little 1 inch section was part of the hood. Like, I would have been like, what was that? Oh, I don't know. I don't, whatever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just,
Anyway, so yeah.
of course, the only white guy is a total buffoon. Of course, he's Obadiah's son. I don't know.
The
Pelosi.
Obadiah son thing I could kind of let slide, even though it is kind of a reach back. But yeah, they did kind of make him like a total wimp, man. Like, he won't even tell the neighbor not to let the dog poop on his lawn, kind of guy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I understand that in design and power set that this is a character that's somewhat tied in to Iron Man, but in universe, other than she was inspired by the Iron Man suit, I don't see that you need to keep like drawing direct parallels to Iron Man because she's not from the same city, moving in the same circles. She doesn't know anybody outside of Shuri that also knew Tony. Um, you know, I don't understand why it would actually connect to Iron Man. Like in the beginning, when the dean from Community tells her that she is disgracing Tony Stark's legacy. Like, in what way is she like in universe? Why would you say that? Why would you think she's part of Tony Stark's legacy? I would think she's probably not the only person trying to make armored suits. Like in a
yeah,
world where technology like
I,
that
I
is
would
available,
I would
everybody
think
be trying
that
to make one.
once that's a thing, like every country would focus all of their efforts on that thing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the way that it feels, and I don't know. It doesn't feel
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just some
Well,
college student in a lab. That doesn't. I don't know.
let's touch on an actual good movie that came out a couple years ago, Oppenheimer. The United States made a nuclear bomb. And once we realized how to make one, did the rest of the world go, oh man, that's cool? Well, they've got that now. I guess we don't get to have one. You know, that's not what happened. The Soviets knew had one and were making more in very short order. And trust me, we're not the ones who told them how to do it. They just, once you know something that can be done, it unlocks the ability to do it. It's like what is it, the 2-minute mile or whatever it was that people never thought would
4-minute mile.
happen. What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roger Bannister, the 4-minute mile. Yep.
The 4-minute mile. Once he did it, people started doing it left and right. Once the United States made a nuke, people started doing it left and right. Once Tony Stark makes an Iron Man suit, I assume the world would start making Iron Man suits left and right. So
Yep.
I don't know. Riri might, for the context of the story, maybe the best one, but the only one is just a silly idea. Very honest though, we know Riri is smart, but is she like a Krav Maga or something? She just beat up like a 6'4" guy that's known for being good with knives. That's
Comment of
just
the day
the
right
plot
there.
armor of these shows. Like automatically, everybody's good at fighting. You know what I'm
This
saying?
120 pound girl who is a bookworm, yeah, she's just going to be able to beat up this guy. I don't know. It was kind of a convenient thing for sure.
I forgot about that. I'm going to call him Chavez from now on because I don't remember his name. Is that okay? Can I call him Chavez? He's Chavez because he likes knives. She just straight up took out Chavez. He's Chavez with no training whatsoever. Jon Snow does nothing. Sacha Cohen is supposed to make an appearance as Mephisto, but doesn't the hood seem like enough? I don't know. I don't like this supernatural angle for our technological hero. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I kind of the hood does feel kind of second tier to me.
Yeah, but so does Ironheart. I mean, you get a second tier hero, you get a second tier villain, and now they're evenly matched. Barry Allen is slow. The overall message is what's troubling. It's okay to do terrible things if you are well intentioned. Can't heroes just be heroes? Does she have good intentions? What are her good intentions? I haven't seen them. I mean, just to make the super cut, it's like an Ahab thing. It's like Moby Dick. Really, she just wants to make it because she wants to make it. Is the vibe I get.
Well, yeah, it's a very interesting, but I think that she wants to do it because she wants to do something good. At least that's kind of the implication I got from her opening monologue. But it doesn't seem like. It seems like she's willing to go to great lengths.
Well, Tim's frozen. Yeah, I'm going to read the next comment. We've got Opthobic. I think the whole point of her sins is her character arc. The show starts off by pointing out that she's entitled and thinks she's better than everyone because of her intelligence. It does do that. She is constantly claiming to be smarter than anybody else, but so far she may be the only one who is of that opinion. It's not reinforced by the people around her. It just seems to be her opinion that she's the smartest person that ever was. Whether or not we're supposed to take that on faith to be true, I don't know. It's not bared out because her intelligence is widely varied depending on what the plot needs to happen. We'll understand for sure by the end of the series, but it is serialized story, so that makes sense to me. But I think we're seeing a protracted origin story of her becoming a hero. I mean, I don't know. She's got a lot of ground to cover to become anything approaching a hero, I would say. And Orthopedic says she's ruining Stark's legacy because her grant was from. Oh, yeah. She was on a grant scholarship. That is true. I'd forgotten that. That was the name of the scholarship she was on, or the grant. That was the whole introduction in Civil War. So she's using Stark's grant to make suits like his for first responders. So, and the first responder thing is all right, but that's just a single line in the opening monologue. And when asked to repeat why you want to make these suits, she doesn't fall back on that. She just keeps saying, because I can.
Mhm.
It's really like a Moby Dick thing. She's just obsessed with doing it because she's gotten the idea in her head and she wants to do it. She doesn't seem to me to really have any altruistic motives. She's just somebody who's really smart, who really likes Iron Man suits and really wants to make one and wants everybody to pay for it. The first responder thing sounds like something you put on a grant application to get money, but like at the end of the day, you really just want to make a suit because you want to make a suit. I
Yeah.
don't know. And
Yeah, for sure.
again, one thing that bothers me with this show, so that everybody can see that I'm a equal opportunity complainer, is it has the Iron Man 3 problem.
It does.
And if you don't know, the Iron Man 3 problem is if this suit functions so well and so perfectly with no one in it, why is there ever
Why
anyone
does
in it? Why?
anybody have to be in it? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the point? Why are you why like and by the end of Iron Man 3, when you have 30 suits flying around taking out the bad guy and Tony's in one, you're like, why
Why?
is why is he in one? Why didn't he just run home while the suits took care of the rest? Like,
Yeah.
why would you bother being in one of they put Pepper in one of them. Now she was already there and she got wrapped up in the suit for it to make her safe. But again, she stayed and started fighting in it. And you're like, wait a minute, just there's like 29 more suits. Go home. Let the empty suits take care of this. What are you doing? I
Yeah.
don't I don't
Yep.
and uh
It would be like
Natalie,
sending an entire flight of drones and then just be like, and we're gonna send one manned bomber with it. It's like,
yeah,
why? We don't need the manned bomber for the whole. We've got this whole fleet of drones. What are we?
but
We don't need
that's
it.
Jeff, and Jeff really wants to see it. He wants to see the bombs go boom, so we let him. It's like, but Jeff can sit next to Steve in the drone shack and steer that thing. They're like, nah, Jeff just really likes the feeling of being
He
there.
really likes being up there with the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that so the Iron Man 3 problem. Yeah, the true AIs. They have true AIs in the MCU. They've got
Mhm.
Jarvis running around. The Vision and the White Vision are there, and and you could put them in these suits. Now I know Ultron ran amok,
Mhm.
but is this Wile E. Coyote? We have an idea one time and it doesn't work, so we give up. That's uh he said yeah. So that just and again that also makes it really like, why was her first AI so terrible and buggy? That bringing up the band Chicago and not knowing what home is or even the city of Chicago. I don't know. And that's another
Yeah.
thing. She's like super intelligent. She's the smartest person that ever walked, but that's the best she could do for programming this thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when you were gone, I was saying, like, is she the only person who keeps saying like she's smarter than Tony Stark and she's the smartest person ever is her. So, like, is she just conceited? Like, are we supposed to believe she's that smart, or do the writers of the show think she's that smart, or is she just overconfident? Is
Well, and
she the only one who?
that's what
What's that?
optophobic says up here at the very first comment that we got here. I thought,
Yeah,
the whole point of the sins is the character arc starts off by pointing out that she's entitled and thinks she's better than everyone because of her intelligence. I mean, I think that that's dead on. And I do think that that's part of the arc. I think the other part of the arc is that there's obviously a lot of loss there, not just with Natalie, but with you know her life that she kind of planned a completely different direction. It's just not it's not really working, I don't think, with a story. I feel like in a story like this, you've got to have the thing about a superhero story is that it's got to be very, very clearly defined, um, or else it's going to be kind of a fringe thing. And I don't think a lot of people are going to go for, not having what these clear motives are that are driving her. it's very, very fuzzy right now. And
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to figure out what her motives are that's driving this whole thing and what it's going to be. What the thing that I'm coming up with is that she's kind of on this adventure where she's trying to figure it out, and then Mephisto shows up, and then that's when she decides, oh well, I've got to be 100% good now. That's what I think they're kind of going for. I just don't know if that's going to work, because that just feels like we've wasted half the series getting to that point. So I don't know. It's a very interesting.
Apathetic is unreliable narrator, and Riri is an unreliable narrator. Most
Yeah.
likely, it's not. And here's one thing: I think the MCU is not always the best vehicle for these types of stories. And full disclosure, I've never read any of the Ironheart comics, but you are adapting a work, and I think this whole thing, the story structure could have worked better if this character had not been shoehorned into Wakanda Forever as her introduction. The whole thing makes more sense if not only had she never gone to Wakanda, but she had never gone to MIT. You know, if we were having a whole situation where she's never been recognized for her brilliance. She didn't get to go to MIT. She didn't have a grant, and she was just building her Ironheart suit in a garage in secret in Chicago with that Barracuda, and has never gotten a scholarship and is having to like try to find. If we had like a Goodwill Hunting situation
Mm-hmm.
where she was
Yeah.
a secret genius and had never been recognized for it, and she didn't have grant funding to make her suit. She just had to do what she had to do to scrap together and make it. And then her motivation for making it is just to show to the world, I'm smart. Because she keeps saying that, like, really, I feel like that's part of her motivation. Because she keeps saying, I want to make something iconic. I want to make something undeniable. And it's like, you're already undeniable. You're already on this exclusive grant ride to the most exclusive technology university in the country. You're also acknowledged by the monarch of the most technologically advanced country on the planet. You don't have to be iconic or undeniable. You're already all of those things. If she was not already all those things, the story would work better. And that's probably what the story was in the comic. You know, you're introducing this character. She probably was from Chicago, still in Chicago, probably wasn't an IT student, you know. That makes way more sense. You have to do a lot of nonsensical things to get her back to that point because of the way she was introduced. You know, uh, she would have been better introduced to Civil War in place of Spidey, give her Spidey's heroic arc and mentorship with Tony. That's more of her introduction in the comics. Okay, so she actually
Yeah.
gets to interact with Tony
With
Stark,
Tony. Yeah.
which would also
And
be a way better
and I
time
think that
with
that
Tony
was I
Stark.
do think that was kind of their idea with Spider-Man, was to have him be that kind of arc, and then when Tony dies, take the mantle. And then we had the studio disputes going on, and that's when that whole thing got shot down. So they had to kind of redirect and delay and rewrite and do a whole bunch of other stuff because of that. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I feel this is a fairly recent comic line, right, Dan? I think,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's
this
in,
is 2016 or something like that. I mean, it's nothing outrageously old. So I feel like that's one of the problems I have with Marvel, is that, my book knowledge in particular is one of those that's like, oh, oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, name. What's up, buddy?
hey
So yeah.
man, how's it going?
So, but yeah, I feel like that's one of my book knowledge is limited to pretty much the 90s X-Men comic line, and that's pretty much about it. Uncanny X-Men and X-Men, and then I got into some AOA stuff later on. But for the most part, I haven't read comic books from 2016 till now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just started last year. I started reading a couple of 4 issue runs on some other stuff that was relatively recent, but I did, I'm not familiar with Ironheart, and I think that's part of the issue. And it's when I was reading these recent runs, I don't like these new storylines. I don't like these new characters. I don't like the direction they go with these new characters. I like the old stories a lot better. And maybe that's just a nostalgia thing with me, but that's just kind of how I've always felt about it. I always feel like whenever I go back to what I grew up with, and I think this is what we all do, that's what Marvel is. And so kind of blending things, I feel like George Costanza, the worlds are colliding, and I don't like it. So, that's just how I
Yeah.
feel. When the worlds collide, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I would be okay. I would accept the character. Again, this show to me, as long as you don't try to make it make any sense, it's passable, it's watchable in the background. You just can't get hung up on things like why is she broke? Why is she broke? That, like, if you get hung up on that, like, you can't make anything else work because the
Mhm.
whole thing is predicated on her being broke and desperate to make money in any way possible, which, like,
Yeah.
in the opening monologue, you see like two or three inventions that she could patent and live comfortably and fund her Iron Man suits for the rest of her life with no grant. So again, and it's not like she has no resources at hand and no knowledge of how to do this. She was at MIT with a custom made curriculum for herself. So if she wanted to, like, people do this. People who are not wealthy, get scholarships to colleges like Stanford and get big tech ideas and drop out and launch companies and become .com billionaires. So the idea that somebody with her intelligence would get as far as MIT and then wash out and be back home having to rob and steal to make ends meet is silly. If you could get over the silliness of that, uh,
Because
it's just a
here's the
lot of
thing that
silliness.
people forget. Here's the thing that people forget about education and the grants and all that kind of stuff. Like anything else, it's a business. Okay. So this idea that we've got to pull the grant because you're not close to achieving your degree, or
Yeah,
we've got to pull the grant because it's been 4 years and you haven't given us the Iron Man suit. That's not how any of this would normally work in
yeah,
that community. If there's somebody who sees the potential for money there, and they see notable progress, the money keeps going. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
If she had a
And
prototype that could fly her all the way to Chicago,
which is what she had, right?
yeah, yeah, nice shiny white
You know?
prototype, with Clippy running it. But anyway, it got her all the way to Chicago. I mean, it was flying, and actually, it had security features built in that shut it down all the way in Chicago. So,
Mhm.
like, that is enough to keep the money flowing. Unless they felt like they had enough in the computer banks that they didn't need her anymore to make those suits. That could be another thing. They're like, oh, okay, well, we've mined your intelligence, and now we're just going to start making it. I remember older guys in comic shops in the 90s complaining about Nova, Darkheart, and other at the time characters that I enjoyed. So I just keep my mouth shut about the new characters. I'm still not a Darkhawk.
No, that's not how it works. They must align with the timeline that I am familiar with, or they are wrong. It's that
Well,
simple.
yeah, I'm not gonna get that deep. I still want married Spider-Man because that's what I
Yeah, I
grew up
mean,
on.
look,
I want married
I'm
Spider-Man.
willing to accept new characters when new characters have interesting stories, and when new characters have deep emotional pulls, when new characters have pure motivations, when new characters have interesting and new powers. These are the things that I love about characters. What I don't really like is when we essentially try to put a different spin on characters that we've already had, and that's what Ironheart just has always felt like to me. Never really cared for that. Never really cared for the new Ms. Marvel that they launched in the 2010s. Never really cared for a lot of those characters because they just all kind of felt to me like they were either rehashes, or the stories were kind of reaches towards other stories, or they were trying to push certain like agendas and things like that. Those are the things that I just don't like. I mean, I'm all for new characters if new characters are interesting, and that's really all that I want out of them. But yeah, I mean, look, I get it. There's always going to be some old guy saying, "Get off my lawn." It's apparently me today. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if they'd have done a better story, you'd be more accepting of the character. Um,
That I mean,
but
yeah, you know what I mean? There's some
yeah,
newer characters that I'm giving a little grace to, you know what I mean? It just depends on the character. But yeah.
yeah. And again, uh, when you got a character with an existing power set in the same universe, it gets a little repetitive. If everybody has an iron suit, a armored suit that they fly around in, then what is Iron Man? It doesn't even matter, because if everybody gets an armored suit, it was kind of like I kind of like how they left Spider-Man at the end of the last movie, because if Spider-Man has a suit where he talks to an AI and it's got armor things and stuff, then like, and he's got spider powers on top of that. So, like, what is Iron Man now? Spider Man's got an armored suit and he's already Spider Man. So, like, who needs a dude who only has an armored suit? So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
power
I mean, I'm
repetitiveness can be a
I'm
problem.
not a f- I mean, I'm not a fan of the show so far. I think everybody can tell that. But look, there are a lot of bottom tier MCU projects that I would put below this one. I would put Secret Invasion below this one. I know you said you wouldn't yet. I think I would.
Oh, no, I
Um,
definitely
I
would. Secret
oh,
Invasion is
you definitely okay. And
that's at the
then
very bottom of my list.
yeah, Secret Invasion, just because, and the thing is, all these things have different reasons for why they're at the bottom, right? I just wasn't a fan of the Eternals, like in general. The execution of the movie just was not my style. Just did not care for it. Didn't like the Marvels at all. Thought that one just kind of failed across the board. Writing, directing, acting, everything just did not land. The story was not great, and didn't like that one. Yeah, Secret Invasion, another one that I would put down at the bottom. I know a lot of people have qualms with me when I say this, but I'm not a fan of She-Hulk. That's more genre related. It's just not my style of comic book that I would like to read. So when I watch the She-Hulk show, it's just not anything that I'm interested in. I don't care for it. I think that the story is not good. But then, this one, I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm like, why don't I like this one? And the reason that I don't like this one as of right now, I think it does have to do a little bit with the moral ambiguity, which is one of the things that I didn't really care for when we were watching The Acolyte. It was kind of a similar thing. It's like that moral ambiguity about, am I good? Am I bad? Am I good? Am I bad? I don't really care for that too much. And I think this is another problem we've had in the MCU recently, where we're going to get a drastically overpowered villain
Yeah.
against kind of a at best mid-tier hero. And so that's kind of going to be the main issue with the story. I think that if they're going to do Mephisto right, and I'm just going to tell you, I think that Sacha Cohen was just nailed down perfectly as the guy that could do Mephisto. I think that's an amazing casting. I just hope that they do it right, and if they do it right, it's going to feel like he is drastically overpowered for her as the hero. So we'll see. But
Yeah, yeah, you don't beat Satan with an armored suit. That's not how you battle Satan. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's a mismatched thing, and that's one of my problems so far. Are you just have to throw out the setup. Just pretend that she never left Chicago, and that makes that kind of work a
that's
little
the
better.
only way that it can possibly make sense, is that you just kind of forget that all even happened. Yeah,
Yeah, she's never left Chicago, and then it all makes a little bit. You can make it make sense that way. And besides those problems, it is the tonal shift of, I don't think the combination of this metaphysical, mystical hood with the foreshadowings of the mystical Mephisto meshes with this technological story of the girl building the armored suit with the advanced AI. I don't now if Mephisto's coming, I'm wondering if Natalie is not just an AI creation. I mean, Mephisto deals in souls, you know, and spirits. So maybe, and there have been some slight hints and some foreshadowing here. Maybe Natalie is not just an AI. Maybe Natalie is Natalie. I don't know, but you know, I don't know if I've been given enough of a rope to care. That's another thing like you were talking about, do we care about any of these characters? Have they been characterized in a way to make them relatable enough to root for them?
See, I
And
don't think so. I don't think
yeah,
so. And I think that this is the main problem that Marvel's had since since about 2020 is that they like to introduce characters very quickly and then they like you to try to care about them. You know what I mean? They'll put their life on the line of this person that you just met and
yeah,
say you need to care that this person is about to die, but you really don't. It's not
yeah,
like when Tony Stark snapped his fingers and we had over a decade of movies and connections and time dedicated to loving Tony Stark. It's completely different. And so now, you know, I'm supposed to care if any of these people die. I just met them literally this week, you know? So that's one of the biggest problems I see in Marvel right now is that they're introducing these characters very quickly, and I just don't care enough about them to care what happens. So yeah.
well, they're not. I don't know. Watching her so far, and other people like some of these shows. I'm reminded of when I watched because people told me it was good. I watched a whole season of the show Shameless
Hmm.
before I realized I don't like any of these characters.
Yeah.
They are all awful. I wish nothing but bad things for any of them, you know? And obviously, and in some shows, that's great. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Seinfeld, you know, in Seinfeld, all of the characters are terrible, but
Yeah.
bad things always happen to them, and it's a funny satire, so that works. It's funny
Yeah,
that they're
exactly.
terrible because terrible things happen to them, and you can laugh at it.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
uh, Shameless was supposed to be somewhat of a comedy, but it also felt like a drama where I was supposed to be pulling for these people, and I wasn't, so I had to stop watching it. And in
Yeah.
this, Riri, outside of her constant insistence that she's not a bad person, I don't see why she isn't a bad person. I don't even like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
you're
we had somebody in the comments just straight up say it. This is more villain activity than it is hero activity, and I think that that's, you know, that's something that's worth mentioning. You know, you've got this super powered suit that busts through walls and does all this stuff. Find a way to save a guy, man. Find a way to save a guy. So,
speaking of Shameless,
yeah,
Jeremy
Jeremy
Allen
Allen White. I
White
was just gonna
is
say that. Yeah,
is being considered for a role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Maybe Nova. I mean, I don't know. Isn't Nova supposed to be? I mean, he was young when he came out, but Jeremy Allen White is getting a little old to play Nova, is he not?
and you know, he could still pass as pretty young, I think. It just kind of depends, man. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Maybe somebody in the chat can tell us. I haven't heard anything official. I would say fan casting at the moment, but who knows? He seems like a pretty busy actor right now. So
Yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't pencil him in for anything MCU related. There were always kind of MCU fan castings kind of floating around out there, so we'll just have to see. I always wait for anything from Movie Web or the studio itself before I confirm. But
yeah. I don't think anybody in the MCU, like one thing, nobody should be named Xavier until you get to the actual Xavier, and then like you should not just trot that name around. And I don't even remember which character was named Xavier, but they were throwing that name around in this series. And I'm like, when you're doing a Marvel project, don't throw the name Xavier around. Just don't
you
do
know,
it.
We haven't talked about any of the previously known side characters here. So let's talk about. So we did see Rampage very briefly, okay? Which is my connection with Rampage was from the Punisher. I don't know how it was with you, Dan. I always thought Rampage was kind of like a guy that went with the Punisher. I don't know what your connection to him was, but that was kind of interesting that he was just on this team with the Hood, and then they capped him. So
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those
that was
ones.
really interesting.
They don't mind to just burn. Like, it's weird how sometimes they'll pick a D tier character and make a whole movie or series about it. And
Uh-huh.
then other times they'll pick a D tier character and just totally toss that away. Just throw it in
Yeah.
there. They're
Well, and
in and out.
sometimes they take a C D tier character like they did with oh gosh, what was Robert Redford's Alexander Pierce, right?
Yeah.
He only had like a couple of appearances in the comics, and none of them were like spectacular to that level. And then he becomes like this this like huge villain for Hydra, and it was just like that was really interesting the way they did that. You know what I mean? Just take this guy that's just kind of barely even in the comics,
Yeah.
and then make him kind of so. They've done some really good changes in the past, and then they've done some changes where you're kind of like, did they even really need to use a named character in order to do it? Like Battlestar was like that. This one was like that. It's like, why even use a named character if all you're going to do is cap them in the head? You know?
They used to do it just for like Easter eggs, and it was fun because
Yeah,
see, it was fun back in the day when they did it because you felt like there were so many characters they would never run out. And
exactly,
now you look
exactly.
back at it and they're scraping the barrel so hard that you're like, man, I wish they wouldn't have, like, they ran through stuff like Crossbones,
Uh,
Batroc, like stuff like that. They did in a way that if you didn't know who they were,
yeah.
and you would, like, a normal moviegoer was just like, oh, that's just thug number two that he got in a fight with and beat up. You wouldn't
Hmm.
really align that with a character with any history or motivation outside of that. And
Hmm.
so they ran through those, and I'm not thinking of all of them, obviously, but and you would think, oh, that's so cool because they touched on that one too, and but now you're like, man, I wish they would have hold on to a few of those because they're obvious. And then also you felt like they had enough sense to reboot this when the actors all got too old and they ran out of story. But obviously, they don't have that kind of sense, so they should have held on to some of these characters a little while.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think the worst parts of this show might be done because the setup, the reset button to get her broke and in Chicago required a lot of heavy lifting nonsense. That was
I'm still not over it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still not like I can't get over the fact that there's look, and I get it. There are movies with massive plot holes that I enjoy every time I watch them, man. I don't know how in the world Indy ended up in the submarine. I'll still never figure it out. But you know, I, but he did. Okay. And so I get it. I can remove myself from reality enough to make certain connections work that just move a plot forward. But when that seems like that's all that we had for the first episode was just we need you to just go along with this. Okay. And then we need you to just go along with this. And then we need you to go along with this. That's kind of how the whole first episode felt until they finally landed at Riri's working for the criminals. That's basically that's basically what they ended up doing. And
You
I
you
just
know
I
what
don't know.
this show reminds me of, and I want everybody when you get done with the live stream to go to our channel and check out our new series Slab Cinema, where we
Yes.
grade the movies that come out and give them like a much like the CGC with comics or the grading corporations for trading cards. Give you a graded grade. We've been doing cinema. We're doing movies. We're grading them in categories. Bone Bridger is helping with us, and we've been doing Jurassic Park, and we've done all the Jurassic Parks. They're not all out yet. You're going to have to check back throughout the week. but this has given me Dominion, uh, Jurassic World Dominion levels of story silliness. You know,
Yes.
of just this
Hmm.
makes no sense. Ignore it and come along. The
Yeah.
only problem is there's no really cool dinosaurs and there's no fun member berries. I don't have Jeff Goldblum and Grant and what's her name?
Sattler. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have those characters, and when you watch Dominion, and all of a sudden the paleontologist now studies uh, farming and corporate farming effects on the whatever, and she's a genetics expert. You're just like, well, I'm just real happy to see Ellie again from the first movie. I'm just so happy she's here, you know. And when to to show her credibility to the world about this genetics research when she infiltrates this factory, she goes to the other paleontologists from the first movie. You're like, I don't care that these two paleontologists are doing genetics work. Member berries,
Hmm.
and the locust thing doesn't work, and you don't understand what the plan was, and you're just like, at least you had member berries and dinosaurs.
Hmm.
This is just as silly, but no member berries and no dinosaurs. So it's not, where and that movie was not good. I'm not, you have to
Hmm.
wait for our review of it. But this is a step below that because the story is just as silly. The pacing is good, much like that thing. If you just turn off your brain and wait for the action sequences, and the character work seems to work in both of those. Like in that movie and in this show, like when people are talking to each other, their personal interactions seem to work in a way that makes more sense than the overall plot. Like the plot makes
Hmm.
no sense, but when two people are interacting, it's sort of like their personal motivations. You could wrap your head. And so it feels like the writers only understand thing at that level. The interpersonal level is all they're really good at. They don't understand the world and how things work. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
So
It's very silly, and I I try not to push a lot of my dislike for certain projects on politics and social issues and things like that. I try not to do that. And the reason that I try not to do that is because I do think that there are certain things that I have personally enjoyed that might be considered on that political fringe, or that might be pushing a certain social agenda or something like that, but I've still found myself enjoying those. So I try to kind of completely remove any of those feelings that I might have, and kind of try to look at the series as a whole and say, how is it in writing? How is it in directing? How is it in acting? Is the story interesting? Is the character interesting? Is all of those things kind of working together to give me something that's entertaining? And as of right now, they're just not. And maybe that'll change. I'm not holding out a ton of hope. I really am interested to see Sasha Cohen. I think that'll be a good thing for the MCU if he can deliver a dynamic performance as Mephisto. But I'm just not holding out a lot of hope that the series itself is going to be redeemed, because I'm just, as of now, all those things are just not working for all the reasons that we've stated. We've stated a lot of the inconsistencies, we've stated a lot of the problems, and when you do what we do on this channel, those are the things that run through your brain, all the things that other people probably won't even realize, that are saying, why can't you just enjoy the show, you morons? Well, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to actually give a critique of the dialogue and the story and all those things. So that's what we have to look at. And right now, I, it's pretty low on the tier for me, but like I said, there's a lot of MCU stuff that I would put below it right now.
oh yeah, it's definitely better than like nothing I think will ever replace Secret Invasion at the bottom of my heart hierarchy. That is it. It makes watching Civil War less fun, which
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
peak
It
Marvel
makes watching
MCU.
it makes watching Endgame less fun. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, you see Don Cheadle standing there at Tony Stark's funeral, and you're just like, that's not even Rhodey, you know? And it's like that all this stuff just is ruined. It's all ruined now,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
And
that's got
so
a firm
it's
spot at the
not
bottom.
yeah, universe destroying, and that's like the Acolyte. We mentioned the Acolyte as well. Same thing, man. Complete universe destroying, right? This is not on that level yet. It's not destroying the universe that's already been built. They haven't come back and said that, Tony Stark was a pedophile or something, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
they haven't done anything like that, okay? But that
it's
doesn't
just
mean
not
that it's
good.
good either. Just because they haven't destroyed the universe doesn't mean they've given us a good story. So,
And so
anyway.
far, I feel like I don't know. It's not as low for me as Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I think that's just because I
I'd
have
put
no
it about
iron.
I'd put it about that level right now. Now,
Yeah,
granted, I've only seen that series once, so maybe, but I'd put it about that level right now.
I think expectations. I had expectations for Falcon and Winter Soldier to not suck, and I hold the fact that it sucks so bad against it pretty hard because I didn't think it would.
Yeah.
this this is this is actually I thought it would be Acolyte level bad. So I feel like
Mhm.
I'm treating it with kid gloves because it's not Acolyte level bad. That's what I fully anticipated. And the fact that it's just slightly better than that, I'm like, oh, this isn't anywhere near as bad as I thought.
See, Dan, you're becoming the MCU fan that you hate. You
Yes,
hate when people say that. You
yeah,
are
that is,
becoming the very MCU fan that you hate. This is,
yeah,
oh,
I'm
that's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, I'm damning another MCU project with the highest of praise that any MCU project can receive post Endgame. It's not near as bad as I thought it was going to be. What every Marvel Studios project aims for, outside of maybe Thunderbolts, is man, I didn't want to go hurt people after I saw that. I didn't want to drive straight to California and beat the crap out of Bob Iger. I think that must have been a good one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, did you have any other Ironheart? We don't know when. We might be back next week to talk more Ironheart. Here,
Yeah, we might be
we might
here.
be elsewhere.
We might be on Bone Bruiser's channel. We have not decided that yet, so we will get with him and we'll get that figured out. But in the meantime, check out Slab Cinema. We got our first 2 episodes of that have dropped. We got another one dropping tomorrow. We have one dropping every day at 10 a.m. Eastern time until the new movie comes out. So,
Yeah, and we
so
will
check
have the
those out.
review for the new one. We're hoping to have that posted next Wednesday, well before most of you will go to see it. It will be spoiler free, and you can
Yeah.
trust us to tell you whether or not it is worth your time and money. Until then, we'll see you next time. And Tim, OH.
IO.